wasn't much.
You always need people to help you, and there's always great people close by if you just ask them to help. God bless them both. And God bless all the helpers here. Many are talking right now to some of our folks.
Because of the changes
Yeah,
in adoption rules, they were now opening it up,
most people know I've got
and
an issue.
parents were able to come back into the light. You know, there was a time when you were adopted, nobody knew where you went, so to speak. Okay. And our president, before this, the past president, grew up here, which was really neat. Dan Minsler, he was an attorney for PBL.
Almost 3 years
He's
now.
passed now. But he became the president, and I guess he had been president for 6 or 7 years back in the 90s. And his story was remarkable. It was an orphanage. His father was in the war, and his mother couldn't take care of 4 children, so she left him on the front porch with a note, "Please take care of my children." So she came back. There was Dan and his 3 sisters. She came back and said, "Is there anything I can do?" So they gave her
Hello, how are you? Wonderful. Charlene is right over here to the right.
Charlene?
She is.
Well, hello, girl.
Here.
And how do
I
you?
hope you're in the right spot.
That's when we
And the rest of the day to you?
Welcome,
Yeah.
welcome to the
That's all that
Stephenson.
matters, right?
So that's how that all happened.
Liquid
And
and
then,
lunch.
We have lunch.
Dan,
Look over there.
yeah, I was on
Good
the
day,
board
Jerry.
for
How are
8
you?
years.
Pretty good.
Lots of liquid
And we
today.
were remodeling and
No,
everything.
no.
He was searching for.
I can touch my ear when I don't have the brace on,
About a year before.
but I couldn't button my shirt this morning.
And they were all here for the opening.
I was close, I was
That's a
close.
remarkable story.
The more I tried it,
And the most remarkable thing,
I tried to use my right,
Yes,
and
You still can button your
take
shirt.
him on a tour.
You said you couldn't button your shirt.
Other
Then you
with
said,
this hand.
We got to the
I
lower
tried to
level,
use it, and I was
which
real,
was a
really
really
close,
close
but
basement, which is
pulling, and I was like, no, I don't wanna push
coming
it.
to
that
the
doesn't
school
work.
is their alternative.
I didn't wanna
school
take the risk.
downstairs, and they have for 8 or 9 years.
I think we have
And
15.
it's, well,
Is that
it's
correct?
beautiful down there. Look,
Did we end
not
up with
quite like
15?
this, cause it's a bathing.
He lived right down the street from me. He's got a house on the, Dixie Highway at I-275.
And he said that was
That big house, when I was growing up, that was the cheerful
the
house.
orphanage, where they
He was
used to
right across
send.
Come to work.
Nice place to come to work indeed.
So anyway.
So he must have been.
You're allowed to have a soft drink, Jerry,
Yeah,
but
boy.
go grab a
So
soft drink.
anyway,
Young boys at the high school.
Yeah. Hey Linda, how do you do? I'm Danny.
Do you own any video?
Hi, Danny.
Nice to
I'm
see
Shirley.
you again.
Nice to
Yes,
see
I
you
met you,
again.
what, about a month ago?
It's been
2
about
months ago?
Or 6 weeks.
Something between a month and 2 months.
Anyway, we have, because I think you had one meeting in between, and then
Yeah.
we were welcoming you here, and that's
This is
wonderful.
very nice.
Yes.
This, Ralph Hale donated this upper floor. This is very nice. He was a pistol indeed.
We have a lot of pistols that donated a
Well,
lot of money.
the original pistol, I think he was a pistol too.
You mean,
Go downstairs and
Schenkel.
Schenkel, Mr. Schenkel.
You're supposed to
There
let
he
her
is.
answer the question.
There's Mr. Schenkel right over there.
Amos Schenkel,
I found.
1926.
I found his picture in the
Just, the clicker
archives
should work.
in the storage room off, there's big storage rooms on both sides.
And that picture was in the storage
And
room?
Rick was not, it didn't look like that, and Rick Worth said, go through that stuff, he said, and see what you can find. So I found,
By the way, I did meet him.
You met Mr. Schenkel
Schenkel.
before he passed away?
Well, I hope it was before he passed away.
When did you meet him?
Well,
A lot of people met him after he passed away. His funeral, his
I don't know about
cemetery
you,
plot
Dave.
is very well placed.
oh,
Mhm.
yeah, he was an entrepreneur, came down the river on a little flatboat.
They say the pickle boats brought him
That's
down
what they call it.
the
And how he got involved with the children is
No, we never got in trouble. when we were kids.
But anyway, when you talk to some old guys and some old gals like me, you know, there was mischief in this year.
Mischief, I think there's still mischief.
Yeah, but mischief is turned into people have brutal things, but that was.
Back then it was
Anyway,
just
he
mischief.
saw these little boys, and he decided
figure out where I
that they
think of-
needed to talk to them, find out someone.
I thought somebody
Then-
said there were
So he bought a building. in
assigned
Covington,
seats, but I
which
don't
has now
see
been
that.
torn down,
Okay. There's none.
And he was housing them.
That was on Riverside Drive.
Go right there, you'd be right in the
I
middle.
don't wanna be in it.
Maybe you should.
I've been ducking those for years.
I will be 94 next month.
So when did you meet Amos Shingle? In the fifties? It would have to have been in the fifties.
I would say,
He built this,
oh, I,
Well, his building's
I don't know
26,
about
so
that.
definitely after he built this.
so when he looked for land, and then he bought all this 52 acres, and built this in 27, and that's a mortgage during the war and cholera and all that.
Did he sell off, there's not 52 acres left. You still have all 52 acres here? It doesn't look like it.
We had a, well, all this back lot is all ours.
All those
down to
trees,
Ludlow.
all the way down to Ludlow is yours? Wow.
So what did Mr. Schenkel do to get your pickle boat to go?
Okay, so he decided that he was gonna, run a little party boat. This is after quite a while of delivering things and making money.
John, how are you doing?
Pretty good.
Built a big
Videotaping.
church down in Covington.
I'm gonna leave you.
So anyway, he started selling things off of his pickle boat, and then he started.
I've got to be at St. Elizabeth Hospital at 2
I'm
o'clock.
sorry?
I have to be at St. Elizabeth Hospital at 2 o'clock sharp.
Down on the pickle boat.
Okay.
I might have to leave early. That's the reason I came early.
Then you got a river boat
he was in.
I've got a young lady walking around doing some video for me
Yeah.
on the Ohio River.
with my other camera.
Before Bernstein. Maybe he was Bernstein's father.
You don't have a feeling?
I was just getting out of his video.
You're taken care of, sir. That's what they're trying to tell you.
Give me your all's names,
I'm sorry,
your name.
I'm Tarina McGuire. I'm the Annual Giving and Events Manager for CHNK.
Fantastic. And
I'm Adam Rowland, Vice President of Outpatient Services for CHNK.
God bless you. And this young lady here.
Hi, I'm Melissa. I'm Rick's works assistant.
Fantastic. God bless you. Everything okay?
Everything's absolutely delightful, sir.
So I'm in good shape.
Want something to drink, Sheriff?
No, I'm fine. I really am. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Chuck, you gotta leave early too? Chuck,
Yes,
you gotta leave early too?
I'm saying,
I say you gotta leave early too?
no, I've got things to do, but
Yeah.
I've got an hour, so,
Well, I gotta be at St. Elizabeth at 2 o'clock for testing.
yeah, yeah.
There you are, sir.
Honestly, well,
Honestly, God wants you to eat. Did you already get your lunch, John?
Yeah, I've got mine to go here.
I did not pay for this.
Well, I have some documentation in the van for you to sign out.
I'm gonna take a look at that fruit thing and Chuck, let me see that sandwich. That's I said, let me see that sandwich. That looks like a dandy there.
I'll bring you some, John.
You're doing a great job.
Absolutely.
swing.
Hello. Did he come with you?
No, he was going to a breakfast for men, and then the friend was bringing him, so we're not.
Well, if somebody's bringing him, hopefully he should.
Well, I'd just like to welcome all of you from the couple of conferences ago, and I think I've already done that. We had wonderful chats, and I can't believe one of your gentlemen has met our founder, Amos Schenkel, many years ago, which was just wonderful. I told him he could be the speaker today, but we already had planned for you two of our wonderful employees, and they're going to kind of highlight a few things. We're going to see a brief slide presentation of what's happened in the last years, from an orphanage in the beginning of our history to what we are today, behavioral health, and you'll see all of our facilities. We've just opened a new one. So I don't know who's going first, but this is Adam. And Adam is in charge of all of our outpatient services, and he'll tell you where they are. And Crystal is just, how do I explain Crystal? Wonderful? Doing everything with our services, with our patients, with our employees, and good little friend over here who's so helpful, so he helps me get this together. So we welcome you, and ladies and gentlemen.
So as Shirley mentioned, I'm Crystal Wiggers. I'm our Chief Programming Officer here. And I started out as a therapist 11 years ago and now oversee outpatient and residential with a lot of support, obviously, from Adam.
Can everybody here, or do you want her to stand in the center?
Oh, and I can also raise
She
my
has
voice.
this really sweet voice.
Raise your sweet voice.
I can project it, absolutely. So I started out as a therapist here in residential care, and now I oversee outpatient and residential services with a lot of support from Adam and also Quentin, who is our Vice President of Residential Services. So as Charlene mentioned, we started out as an orphanage in 1882, and subsequently have made a lot of shifts into a behavioral health organization. So our primary focus areas are mental health and substance use care. Through that continuum of care, we do serve all ages, so early childhood as early as 3, and then older adult populations. So we do take Kentucky Medicare, Ohio Medicare. It's a national program, so actually any state Medicare plan. We have over 150 professionals. Many of those are therapists, but we do have a multidisciplinary team in our organization. So we employ doctors, nurses, case managers who help people, so like a traditional social work position, and then of course a number of administrative professionals that support the day-to-day operations of our organization.
And so like Crystal had said, in 1882, Amos Schenkel founded CHNK, or Children's Home of Northern Kentucky, or Protestant Children's Home at that point in time, as an orphanage. And then it existed in that way for about 100 years. But in the 1980s, the need for that started to wane, and we transitioned into what is called private child care in residential, which is a contract with the state, where we have kids in our buildings that need that are in state custody, but need that sort of intensive services work because of whatever's going on with them behaviorally or with their families. And we did that work, and we still continue to do that work in a different form of residential, and that's what these buildings are out here, as well as some of our buildings we're going to see in Burlington. But along the way, especially post about the year 2000 and really hitting the ground running in the mid-2010s, we started to recognize that as wonderful as residential is, we would really like for kids to not need to have to go into residential, right? We want to keep them with their families and safe in the community. And so we started to expand our outpatient services. And so when Crystal described that continuum of care, for us, what that means is that we can start in our outpatient services division in individual therapy, more intensive group services, case management services. We can help kids and families with medication services, all the way up to where they're with us 5 days a week. And then if they do need something more than that, or if they come in, just at so significant of a risk that they need our residential, we have that available as well. So really, as you can see, you can be treated along this entire continuum, so that CHNK Behavioral Health at this point really is a one-stop shop for most of mental health and substance use disorder needs. And this is kind of a graphic and a visual of what I was talking about there, how all of these, we call them levels of care, play into one another to really support all of the kids and families that come to us.
So here's some before and after pictures. So of course this building was an orphanage, so we had children's bedrooms, and we did a pretty major renovation. So this was the front of the administration building. Now, of course, we've retrofitted that slightly differently to add some additional parking spaces and increase the availability both for our existing staff, but we also in our basement have the Transformational Learning Center in collaboration with Covington Independent Public Schools. So that's their alternative program where children can access our mental health services during their learning day. This actually is where we're located now. So this is the 3rd floor. And this was a number of bedrooms, babies occupied this area. And now, of course, it's our facility up here. This is our CHNK Heritage Room. I know Charlene, it sounds like might do a little bit of a tour. And so downstairs we have a large conference room. Part of it was the co-ed bathroom. People joked that the restroom had the best view in the whole building. And so this is the building now, or this is that conference room now. These are some of our administrative offices. This actually was where we housed all of our outpatient services. So anything non-residential was kind of located out of this command center. Now that's in Covington, which we'll show a picture of in downtown Covington. That same space now is quality assurance and human resources. So we were able also to modify some of the spaces to better meet the needs. Anything you want to add, or am I covering it?
Yeah.
So this was originally the boys' living room. It also was used as an art room, as our group room for residential care. And then now this is our CEO's office, which obviously offers some hosting space. This was the back of that office. And this is where he's located now. So quite a significant transformation. They were able to restore the wood that had been painted over, which was, of course, desirable.
Just a quick, as you saw the blue and white, all of that was all stripped by a German painter. All the panels were taken out, laid down, and so you with German heritage can appreciate that. And all the painting left. Fireplaces are still there, they still work, and now it looks like this.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Charlie, but I think it's the only place in the building that has the original hardwood, which is pretty neat. This is the kind of the main hallway in front of the conference room, the CHNK Heritage Room. That got shifted actually also to accommodate an elevator, which of course goes for all 3 floors. That's where the elevator is, the CHNK on the floor. This is our junior board room, which we've been able to convert into our business office. And this actually was, now it's been transitioned over into, it was the development office. Now it's shared by the development office, and then my office is located there with several of our clinical team. I think personally my office has the best view, but somebody said it's the bathroom. This is our basement. So it previously was flooding, it was underutilized. And now this is our the TLC location for Covington Independent Public Schools for their alternative program.
So the kids can actually go to school here from Covington?
Yes. Yes.
How are they tested as far as coming here versus staying in Covington?
So, well, first, so we serve the children in our residential buildings, and they also go to the TLC program. But Covington Independent Public Schools, basically if something's gone on that doesn't warrant expulsion, but there's been some behavioral needs, then they bring them here. They get some mental health supports if necessary. And then they kind of go through a process in Covington Independent Public Schools. But I can't say enough positive things about CIPS, the public school system at Covington, because they really are working to reintegrate those students. It really is rehabilitation. It's not, kind of like a warehousing. They're really trying to get them back. But yeah, there's been some significant behavioral problems.
Crystal,
Yeah.
Covington school system is the one that determines if they come here.
Yes.
Yes, they run
I'm
this
sorry,
program.
yes.
Yes,
Yes, they
not
run the
us.
program, yes.
We rent the space and they determine who's coming here. They bring them on a bus and take them back to Covington School on a bus every day. And then Crystal mentioned, and I hope everybody caught that our boys, this is where our boys live, in these cottages that are our live-in clients. And they go to school on the first floor where you came in to the left, there's classrooms. And I would have shown that to you, but the children are in school right now. So we're providing education here as well as living facilities for children that need to have that.
Would you like to discuss how many children?
How many children right now?
In residential care, we have 18 beds. And then in TLC, I think there are typically anywhere between 30 and 50.
Yeah, there are 4 classrooms down there, but they're much smaller due to, their presentation and the behaviors that might be occurring. Then we keep them in a smaller environment, so there's 4 classrooms down there.
They do a really nice job. And then they work with us for some recreation activities. So we have a really good collaboration with them.
And our outpatient team also provides therapy and other interventions to the kids that are downstairs when referred and when warranted. Were you in education, sir?
So you've got the Covington kids coming up, there's probably 40 to 50 of them.
Yeah.
You got 16 kids that are on campus.
Mm-hmm.
The other kids that come in that I would consider the true outpatient kids, how does that work?
We'll get to the
Okay.
outpatient building in just a minute, and we'll talk about that
Okay.
for sure. Were you in education?
I'm jumping the gun. I'm from education.
That's
Oh,
what I
wonderful.
thought. We use the word testing, and that's not, I work with schools all the time, so it's not
Yeah.
typical in conversation to say, how are they tested in here?
So we'll talk about Burlington and then we'll talk about our outpatient facility. Our Covington location is for our residential boys, so 7 to 17 age, and we separate those based on age into the 2 cottages. And then Burlington is our psychiatric residential treatment facility for girls, 7 to 17. And for that program, for the education, we collaborate with Boone County Schools. This was the building prior, so there are 2 cottages. They were originally developed for adults with developmental disabilities, so we did have to shift those cottages quite a bit to meet our needs. So this is what, there'll be a picture of this building in a minute, but this is what it looks like now. So quite a shift, with several significant facility improvements to retrofit the cottages for the safety needs of our residents. This is actually, this was in one of the Burlington buildings, and this has shifted to our medical offices. So we have a psychiatrist and a nurse that spends quite a bit of time out there and sees our residents. This is one of the kitchens that has been upgraded. And then we can talk about outpatient services.
You know what's funny, I love about our administration building that just happened, correct me if I'm wrong on any of these details, Charlene, because you might know. This building was built in 1923 or 1924 with a slate roof, a life expectancy of 100 years, and we just had to replace it, so it was spot on 100 years, which I thought was really, I love that sort of irony. So to the point of outpatient services, so you had asked how many kids are served on our campuses here, and in Burlington. Crystal shared that. In outpatient services, we actually see kids and adults. We see people of all ages. About 75% of the people that we see in our outpatient services are children and adolescents. The other 25% are adults. This year, we're expecting to serve somewhere over 1,200 individuals in our outpatient services across the 2 locations we're going to talk about. 1,200 individuals.
Wow.
So that is a dramatic increase from even just a couple of years ago.
That was the number I was trying to get.
That's a huge number.
Yeah, and we can
Is that COVID related? Did COVID cause a lot of mental health issues?
COVID contributed to a lot of mental health issues, particularly what we see. So my specialty, if we were to talk about that, I can go into long detail about that you may not want to hear, but I typically work with elementary age kids with significant behaviors, and what we noticed prior to COVID and after COVID is that the amount of those behaviors, probably due to lack of socialization and those sorts of things, we're seeing that sort of thing a lot younger. And so many of our services are embedded in schools, and elementary schools are by far the biggest recipient of those services. And I would imagine that just that lack of socialization, lack of normalization in classrooms may contribute to some of those behaviors we see, much less the other incidents of depression, anxiety with the older kids.
And also addiction of in family systems that obviously contributes to mental health across the whole system.
Yeah, what's really interesting, even though our volume has increased in general, so we would expect more of this, is that the proportion of kids that are coming in with significant mental illness that have just very challenging family dynamics related to either blended families, and there's like dynamics there that aren't healthy, or parents that have gone by the wayside due to their own mental health and addiction, which is what led us to wanting to serve adults anyway. All of those sorts of things by proportion seems to have increased along with volume. So yes, so certainly contributed to it. Another thing that contributed to our growth, I think, is that we've done the board, Rick, everybody's done a really great job of putting together compensation packages and just taking care of our staff members in such a way that we retain almost all of the therapy staff that we bring on board, which is unusual in this work. And really important. The number one piece of feedback that we hear from schools when we're talking, because that's kind of my job. I go into schools and say, hey, how can I help you? And then we work that out. But the number one thing I hear is, I understand that there's turnover, but having a new therapist for these kids every couple of months is just so hard. So I'm fortunate enough that I very rarely have to have that conversation with a school to say, hey, this therapist is leaving. It happens once every 2 years that I'm having that conversation. That's how well that our situation is here, so that we're able to retain those staff and keep them on board, which leads to better outcomes for the kids and better services for the schools. Sorry, I got a little turned around in my head. So those 1,200 plus patients that we're going to see, many of them are going to be in school settings, and I'll talk about those in a second, but many of them are also by telehealth and in our outpatient services. We have 2 locations for outpatient services. One of them is down at Fifth Street. We're in the Tobin building down there. My understanding is that it was built in the 70s as a school, which is funny, but it's recently been, not recently, but it's been changed over and leased by Bill Tobin to several folks, including us, and we have most of the second floor. This is our main check-in area where folks will come in, check in, and wait for whatever services they're receiving for the day. This is one example of a group room that we have. So like I had mentioned, we have this complete continuum of care that is individual work and group work. The group work is very, very important because if we just were to magically snap our fingers and say tomorrow everyone that has a mental health condition has an individual therapist, that would not solve the problem. We need access to more intensive levels of care so that we can address those higher needs, right? And that's what some of these groups help to accomplish. And this is one of our most recent additions, which I love. And by the way, all of these were designed in large part by Charlene, so thank you so much. And she did such a wonderful job of bringing all the samples down there and really getting input from us, I think, on what we thought would be best. So I'm very appreciative of that. Before I go on. So I really love this space. This is where we provide some group services down there, but what I really love about this space is it's meant to be a training room. So we bring a lot of really great evidence-based practices trainings. We bring our community partners into the buildings to train our staff to become more competent, effective, and efficient in what they're doing, and this is the space for that. We also just recently started a cohort of social workers that are trying to be therapists through NKU. They're actually doing one of their classes on our campus, and then those students are interning with us. So this is a pathway for them to get an education about what we're doing, but also for us down the road to be able to maybe hire them. And we've had 1 year of training, right? So I really love this space for all that it represents. And then, outside of all of this, like I mentioned, many of our outpatient services are completed in school settings. And so we partner with, I think we're in 6 districts currently. Last I counted, which was a couple of days ago, was 23 schools that we're in. And when I say in, I mean that we send either a therapist or we send an individual therapist or a group therapist to the school, and the school has a relationship with us. We don't just show up for one kid, we have a relationship with them. And so that allows us to serve hundreds of kids where the kids are without the need for their families to bring them down here, where they might have transportation issues or time issues. We go into the school, and we also do some of these more intensive group services in the school as well, which is really helpful. Any questions on that stuff?
Your growth has just been unbelievable. What kind of growth are we talking? 20% a year, 30% a year, 50% a year?
I don't know the final figures from fiscal year 23 to 24, but I can tell you from 22 to 23, because we just ended that fiscal year, so I don't have that memorized yet. But from fiscal year 22 to 23, we increased our number of services. So one individual therapy service is one service by 80%.
Wow.
So we did, this past year, I think we ended up with about 24,000 services. I just don't know how that compares to the year before, but over the last 2 fiscal years, we've grown about 100% from the preceding.
What a success story you guys
Yeah.
are. Can you
Thank you.
explain how you're funded?
So, in general, a
Money.
lot of different ways. A lot of our funding does come from development and fundraising. That's where Rick and his development team come into play and do a really wonderful job of making sure that we have all that we need to do, or all that we need to do what we do. But the other portion of our funding typically comes from insurances, so commercial insurance, Medicaid insurance. So when we're going and providing these 24,000 services, the insurance company is paying us for that. I will say that especially Kentucky Medicaid is not the most robust, and oftentimes those services do not cover all that we need to do, all that we need to be able to do what we need to do, and that's where Tarina, Brent, and Rick and their fundraising team comes into play. And I just want to point out while we're talking about this, because when I go into that spiel, I always am sure to mention that what I really love about working here is that we do serve people of all ages. We serve people of all economic backgrounds. So this beautiful building we have here, the wonderful, and we're going into Grant County, the wonderful things, the presentation, Rick calls it the physical plant of outpatient services in Grant County at Fifth Street, it's the same. The staff members that are trained in these really expensive evidence-based practices to help people get better quickly. Those are the same people, whether you have Medicaid and we're getting paid pennies on it, or whether you're paying us self-pay at $150 an hour or whatever it is the same. And I love that. I think it's important. That's critical to my values and mission. And that's where the development team comes into play to help us kind of fill in that gap, right?
I think his question was more of a lead into the fundraising aspect. How much of your bottom line is paid for by individuals and nonprofits, groups like the Optimist Club, other entities? What percentage of your bottom line is paid for by that?
Well, as far as our bottom, I can tell you that give or take around 1/3 of our revenue expected is from fundraising.
We
Is that
also-
a question?
We also,
Something else, Evan, with on your structure and your students, what do you expect out of them?
In which context?
Okay, how many of them are allowed to have a cell phone
in our residential program?
while they're in this system?
In our residential program, none of them have cell phones. So they're,
I'm the county sheriff,
yeah.
and I know, and I was hoping you'd come up with it. We have less trouble in this school than we have in any other school in the system. Students don't come they don't have cell phones in the classroom. It's highly structured, just like it was when I was in school. I am having a hell of a time getting a school resource officer down here. You know why? They're bored to death. It's a compliment to you, but it's a heartache for me.
That is a compliment.
I'm having a hard time filling those shoes right now.
Yeah.
Boring is underrated.
And to that point, in all of our group services, we always make them turn their cell phones at the beginning, and that's not only for safety and distraction purposes, but for privacy as well. So, except like individual therapy, we don't really, but if we're in someone's school, then we follow whatever the school policy is there.
Do you have any out service?
Say that there's not gonna be cell phones this year in the public schools?
Oh, yeah, I don't have any control over that. I just happen to know right here in this system, they don't.
It is in.
It's more structured than it is in other classrooms.
Do you have any other outpatient services? That's Grant County. Do you have Pendleton or Gallatin at all, or?
Well, no, we don't have a physical location. Now, what I will say is that as far as as far as all of our services go, we serve people from all over the state. There's not one up here right now, but we have a fun map of all the counties that we've drawn clients from, and it includes just almost every county in the Commonwealth.
120, I think.
What's that?
120, I think.
There's 120 counties, so if you hit 120, you've hit all the counties.
So we do pull clients in from everywhere. But as far as our physical locations, that would be Burlington, here, Fifth Street in Covington, and then in Grant County in Williamstown off Barnes Road. But that location, to your point, was a little strategic because it's right down I-75, so as far as us getting down there, it's pretty quick access. But it's also much closer geographically to places like Owen County. Pendleton County is about equal, whether you want to go north or west. But Scott County as well, Owen County, maybe Gallatin County, all have closer access to that Grant County location right on I-75 there.
And just to clarify, I mean, some of the Kentucky counties that we have had clients from are through our residential services.
Yeah.
So people will come all over Kentucky, and actually individuals from Ohio to access our residential programs.
Any other questions on that? And I don't want to take up all of your time, just a little, since I talk too much.
This has been very informative. You're doing a great job.
Thank you. So, the most recent addition, in response to all of this growth, now, fun fact, we've been serving Grant County Schools embedded in that school system for 2.5 years. We didn't want to build this just because we thought it might be there. We thought the need might be there. We knew it was because we've been there. So we actually opened this building with 6 full-time staff working in it already. And so this has been certainly a passion project of mine. I grew up 10 minutes from here in Williamstown. And this is an example of down here at this space, our individual therapy suites, which you can see there. And this is kind of the main check-in area. This was our ribbon cutting event. I don't think there's a picture.
Question on this.
Yeah.
Just this, the Bob Griffin?
Yeah.
Okay, is
Carolyn
that
Bob
the
Griffin.
Griffin Industries?
Yes.
Yeah.
I knew them when they were Milton Gardens taking advantage of a pickup truck.
Did you?
They sold out for $1 billion. And
They
they're very
contributed
generous people.
significantly
Yeah.
to
They're
support
very
the Grant County,
generous.
yes.
Very generous. Bob Griffin, when he was speaking at this, he spoke back to when Rick was a priest, and he said, you know, when I met Rick, about what did he say? He's like, every 2 weeks, Rick would come to me, you know, asking for money, so.
He has that priest mentality.
Yeah.
He knows how to raise money, that's all we can say.
For sure, so.
But this is just open 3 weeks, right? 4 weeks?
Yeah, the 9th.
And they're already full staffed and up and running.
Yeah.
Well, you've been working on this before.
Oh, yeah, it's been a years-long journey for me, so.
Any questions?
Pretty impressive.
Very impressive.
Thank
Very
you.
impressive.
Sure.
Thank you. I tell you, I'm the one up here saying this, but almost nothing was me. It was the staff.
That's not true, but-
It was the staff. We got really lucky with some just wonderful hires. And like I said, you know, the fact that we had the board support with all of the things that we're able to do for our staff members and keep them on board and train them and make sure that they're high quality. So that's what's really contributed to schools provide. There are so many school districts and individual schools that have told us, you know, I've been in education for 10, 15 years, and this is the best quality of services, the best customer service really is what they love than we've ever experienced. And so I'm just really thankful to be able to do this and to have the team that we have.
They're thankful that you're actually providing the service. How many entities exist in Kentucky like the Children's Home of Northern Kentucky? There's probably less than a handful, right?
As far as residential, I don't know, it's not that many, I wouldn't know.
2.
Two in the entire state.
No, it's not, no, I mean, so in terms of psychiatric residential treatment facility, there are others, but we're the only one in northern Kentucky. So in order to access residential care through your insurance, we're the only game
You're
in
it.
town.
Yeah.
Yes.
As far as outpatient services, there's It depends on which level you're looking at, but the hundreds throughout the state. But you know, as far as I go and how I like to do that, you know, I went through undergraduate and graduate school as a non-traditional student. I already had a couple of kids, and I tell the stories that I worked in a Mexican restaurant and sold queso and guacamole, right? And so I had to feed my kids with how well I provided that customer service, and so then get my master's degree 10 years later, here I am. But you know, I always try and go into it with that mentality, is a quality of services, so evidence-based practices, good quality therapy, that's important, but right up with it is customer service, and if you're not listening to your customers and responding to their needs, you're not gonna last very long. So that's also, I think, something that's contributed to our growth. I see a hand over here, maybe? Yeah.
What sort of relationship do you have with Homeward Bound?
Do you wanna speak to that, Chris?
Sure, yeah. It makes me laugh because at one point we had a child who left here and ran down there. So anyway, I went and picked him up. But no, we have collaborated with them. They're a private child caring entity now, so they accept children in the custody of the state. We do that to some degree. We have children in the custody of the state, but also we have a number of kids who, you know, we bill through private insurance, but certainly a community collaboration with them.
We already started something of a relationship with them, but apparently the one lady that I had made contact with, I don't know if you knew Selena Murdoch.
I don't believe so, no.
Apparently she's no longer there.
Oh, okay, okay. Are you looking for a contact with them?
Well, I'm gonna stop by there after I leave here to see who the contact is.
Sure. They're a wonderful community resource, and they're uniquely located. I mean, you know, downtown, and but they offer a different type of service. You know, we are a locked unit, so the children in our care, when they're with us, I mean, there's badge access in and out. Now, certainly they cross the parking lot to access school. We go on outings, but you know, they're completely open, locked doors. So they take a different population than we do. It's not quite as, the behaviors are not quite as severe.
I see. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Do you do anything with art and music programs with kids?
Well, Chris would speak to residential a bit, but as far as outpatient goes, yes. In fact, I love, so one of the, I didn't get into specifics of what we call some of these things. We have a program called Heart Hospitalization Program, and the therapist in that program is trained in therapeutic drumming. And so he incorporates sort of things like that, which I think is just wonderful when you can include dynamic ways to approach things like mindfulness and expression and these sorts of things. Using things like therapeutic drumming absolutely come into play.
And then also we do have a person who is in charge of recreation activities, so she is really astute at incorporating exposure to music, the arts, travel. All of our children have a travel journal, and she'll show them like clips from Rick Steves, and then we'll give them like special treats from Copenhagen. So we really do try to provide them with a dynamic experience, kind of looking at the whole person. I mean, you had a question?
Yeah, I had a question.
Yeah.
How can we, as the Optimist Club of Covington, help you? In which ways would you need help?
That's a wonderful question. I mean, of course, as Adam had mentioned, you know, in order for us to be able to provide the type of services that we do at the caliber that we do, you know, Adam mentioned the Kentucky Medicaid plan is not particularly favorable, and it doesn't cover our costs. And when we've had contracting relationships with the state, that doesn't cover the cost. In terms of the evidence-based practices that we want to employ, the types of clinicians and the multidisciplinary team, and then of course the caliber of our facilities. So donations are always a significant consideration as we evaluate support from the community.
Is there any mentoring or anything like that we can help?
There's always opportunities with volunteerism, and that can be, you know, our human resources department can certainly, you know, link to our human resources department can facilitate that. So yes, if there's someone, you know, the big piece there is when we do have children who work with a mentor, you know, the consistency of that relationship is important because they've had, you know, so many broken attachments in the past. But yes, mentoring is always a consideration.
I just wanted to ask, do you have any programs that work with adults on alcoholism or drug abuse or mental conditions gotten from that?
Yes, absolutely. You want to talk about partial hospitalization?
Yeah, so one of our services that's down at our Fifth Street location currently is 5 days a week. 5 days a week in which they're here with us most of the day. These are adults with severe mental health conditions. Many of them have just been discharged from hospitalization, things like schizophrenia, bipolar disorder. Many of them also have some substance use disorders co-occurring with that. And so that's one way. And in our Grant County facility, middle of next month, we will also be launching a substance use disorder group for adults. So that is embedded in everything that we do as well.
Other questions?
So one of the things the Optimist Club is doing is art in a box. And it's sort of like a beginning project-based learning kind of thing, where it gives the student a project to do with art.
Yeah.
Is that something that you guys could use in your curriculum?
Oh, 100%.
Absolutely, yes.
Like I said, we're always trying to incorporate interest. No child or adult, nobody wants to go and sit in a therapy group and get lectured to for 3 hours. Nobody wants that, right? And so ways you can incorporate dynamic learning into that. And I used to do this fun thing with, and this is so simple, but it's so important. When I would do groups of like 5, 6-year-olds, we would have a color by numbers thing, and I would tell people, here's your crayons, you gotta wait to color, and then I would give them directions one by one that they would have to listen to, and I wouldn't repeat my directions because you have to be listening, and then you have to color, and that teaches, patience, but also active listening and things and following directions and things like that. So there's really cool ways that we can incorporate a lot of different things like that.
Yeah, we call it celebrating optimism in art.
Perfect.
We hope to eventually expand it to music also.
Yeah.
But we're working with St. Anthony's and Fort Wright Elementary right now.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And I'd especially be interested to see how we could fit that in with, say, the mental health side,
We'd love to examine.
as well as the regular stuff, because celebrating optimism in art might come with some different perspective as far as approach or ideas than what the public schools or what the schools
Absolutely.
have. So,
and we have a lot more latitude than somebody in your public curriculum might have. I'm not sure how all that works. And one of the things that I was going to mention back to what you can do is, it seems that, to me at least, the ones that have been speaking, there's a lot of experience that is relevant to what we do, and so we would always welcome opportunities for anybody that wanted to come and speak about a topic that they have particular knowledge or passionate about. And I can't speak for Crystal, but we have meetings every month with our outpatient teams, and if that's something that you're interested in, training on a specific topic, then I would love to set up an opportunity to do that as well with our staff.
The other piece is participating on our board, which Charlene might be able to speak to, but of course leveraging that experience and organizational governance. We have a community board, which is more focused around fundraising and event planning, and then of course our main board, which is focused on organizational governance, but it does have different areas, in terms of like advising on programming, our treatment committee, advising on facilities, and different ways that you're able to get involved.
The board, and some of you were at the breakfast we had last year. That was our inaugural breakfast, and I'll look around and I see quite a few of you. And that is a fundraiser that is produced through the Board of Trustees, and then we have side groups that help with that, and that's a community group that's going to be doing that. So that's a fundraiser, strictly to go to whatever projects that we needed money. So that was the first time we did that. We had done galas for 100 years, and they kind of had surpassed their value. People did not want to spend money on clothing and expensive things to go to something like that. So the breakfast was very successful, and we are going to have that again. So I hope.
Do you have a flyer for your breakfast?
When's the date? No, we're preparing that information right now. Tentatively it's for April 18th. Last year was for April 19th. That falls on a Saturday this year. but tentatively it's for April 18th, and it's an early breakfast from about 8 to 9:30. And we're in the works of, working on our sponsorship deck, securing our sponsors for the coming 25 years.
If everybody signs in before they leave, she'll have all your information, which is good, and then she'll send you a notice about it.
I think Linda can give you a sheet with our email addresses on it. That would be fine.
Not today, I don't have it.
Yeah, one of the things, Adam, one of my daughters had the opportunity to go to the Kentucky Governor's School of the Arts. And
Oh, cool.
she won the University of Louisville's top art scholarship.
That's wonderful.
So I have kind of an interest, and that's whereas our Celebrating Optimism and Art project is kind of a broad-based one. One of the other things I'm looking at is that, folks like your educators identify people with their kids with serious art talent. If there's a way we could do something special for them, provide them with upgraded art supply packets that would help foster their interest and their talent, I'd like to work with somebody.
Yeah, 100%. That also sounds like a wonderful thing to residential. I think we're
Absolutely.
really well.
So I was gonna say, the person who's in charge of our activities, so she's our recreational associate, I think would love to collaborate on that.
Because I know a lot of school art teachers, they recognize the talent, but their system isn't designed or funded to kind of like help those kids that really stand out. And so they tend to lose interest or get outside of it. Whereas
Absolutely.
if we do that, we could help maybe some of those kids qualify to go to the Kentucky
We
Governor's
would love
School of the
that,
Arts.
that would be wonderful.
I have a possible resource for you because you talked about having a speaker. My nephew does a podcast called The Mental Game. A lot of it deals with suicide, but his premise is he interviews famous people who had struggled with mental health to kind of take away that stigma. He tours all kinds of high schools and colleges. Right now he's based in LA, but he's coming into town. Something's happening downtown, I think paid for by Kroger's and mental health, something downtown. But I know he's one of the speakers there. But he's my nephew, and I could nudge him. Go talk to these people.
Yeah. What did you say the podcast was called?
Give him a nudge.
Mental Game.
Mental Game.
And my name is Seho, so all you have to do is Google Seho and you'll find it.
Great,
Well, I was gonna say, Charlene, if you're okay with it, when you send the email list to Tarina, she will send out an email with our contact information so we can communicate that way. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna put my email down.
This was a great program, guys.
thank you so much.
Thank you. Sorry, I talked way too long.
No, you were right on the money.
One thing I would like to tell you, that the good Lord allowed me to be here today at 80 years old, and I found out the lovely lady there might be a little older. Love that. But you'll be able to see all this on Travels with Dr. John Stephenson on YouTube, because I film a lot of things that they do in the Optimist Club. Some they want, some they might not want, but they they get seen. And this is an excellent education program. As former superintendent of education for the state of Kentucky, the last elected superintendent, I can tell you this is an educational program that will really touch a lot of people's hearts. And you did a beautiful job. All of you, including the young lady over there. Red, yellow, brown, black, and white, we're all precious in Jesus' sight. Just don't forget now, it's the Holy Spirit's job to convict. It's God's job to judge. It's my job to love and your job to love.
We're trying that. Thank you so much, Crystal, and
I'll throw that away.
all that information sent out to you, so you'll be on our mailing list.
There you go, John.
Be able to find out what's new happening. We've got to talk to you.
How do you spell your last name? 'Cause I know it's
Stephenson, S-T-E-P, like step, and then hen, H-E-N, and then S-O-N, John Stephenson.
Always says, children's home is not like a Kroger you don't ride by. You never see it unless you have a destination. These rooms up here, I will tell you, you can have a meeting anytime. It's free. That's what the room is all about. You can have a bridal shower. You can have an evening with your family. This has umbrellas and then the fall is beautiful out here. Overlooks everything. So I think that you see what our facilities are and how we worked hard to upgrade. And we are good board.
So you came and presented to the Optimist Club. Unfortunately, you were so soft-spoken, it didn't work from a Telecommunications Board of Northern Kentucky standpoint. So you didn't make it to TBNK and you didn't make it out to the world. And I thought we were gonna tape this today, and that didn't make it out to the world. We don't have this tape. Is there a way that we can redo this program with TBNK so that it goes out to the world with somebody that has a little more projection in their voice?
No. We made a new edition. We made a new edition since your time there. Got a microphone and a jerry box.
Did you get a new one?
Yes.
Well, remember my husband pulled it, you know, he's been in music for years, so he thought he could adjust that. Well, it was so old, he couldn't re-plug it in. And so I was without mic
And that didn't work. It didn't work. I'm sorry.
I got a new mic now
That's
that is
okay.
indestructible.
But you're here. Somehow I got to
Well,
somebody.
this was spectacular, but we'd like to put this out to the world.
Okay.
And if we can do that via TBNK, I don't know how we do that.
Well, I can tell you one way you do it. I'll donate my tape off to TPNK, and they can use all that we've got here.
Maybe we can do that.
Well, this gentleman had one of our gals from the front desk go around with his little camera and tape through the building.
That's right.
The only reason I didn't take you on that walking tour is because of the temperature. We got a lot. Unfortunately, we got a lot going on in the building today, so we couldn't get into the schools.
But I've got pictures of it all.
If you could put that together,
Yeah.
and give it to TBNK, that'd be fantastic.
I'll be happy to do it.
I think one of the biggest things that we do is that we take care of our children that live here. They walk across the street, their school is here. And they're wonderful classrooms. They're set up as nice as any classroom in the area. And then the children, the girls that are out in Burlington, we have the same thing. And Boone County takes care of those schools, and Covington takes care of these schools. And I think that's one of the biggest things we've done, accommodated children who can't be mainstream. So
That's why.
I don't want to keep.
Well, you've got a great program, and we want to get it out to the world. And if we can get that out through John, that'd be
We
fantastic.
would certainly appreciate it.
It'll get done.
And you're welcome to come here for a meeting anytime.
We're having a meeting, actually, volunteers, community board member, October 22nd.
As long as I'm still alive, Denny.
Yeah, and I'll just be brief.
This is something really interesting. that
Yeah, I
we've never
do
done
have a
before,
master's in
and
education.
it's going to happen on
I
October
used it.
22nd,
Well,
because in the 22nd.
I used it in the Army, but.
That's okay. So October 22nd, we'll have our community board, board of trustees, our volunteers who help. We're gonna come up here, just have like a little after-work dinner and you know, the same presentation.
I'm too old.
I'm happy to send you an invitation once we get those
I'm looking
made,
more at ways
so that you all
that I
can come. But we're just educating the community and updating our community board on our future plans for, 2025.
And I can help fund
You guys are more than welcome to
numbers
come. That'll be October 22nd.
Yeah.
So the average
Fantastic.
person in Northern Kentucky is very unaware of your services. So we need to make them aware of your services.
It's amazing to me when I went to another group and talked, they're called New Friends of Northern Kentucky, and they're a group of women that had either moved into the community, lived here, moved away, anyway, they came back. So I was expecting the Optimist group, 20 people maybe, and I get there, and there's a room of 125 women. And at the end of the day, they gave me this little package, and I thought, well, maybe they gave me a little bath soap, or, you know. They gave me $800 for the children's home.
Wow, how wonderful.
And they're coming for a meeting, so we'll have something up here. But they were people who really had no idea of the Children's Home of Northern Kentucky, where I know Linda's been here, maybe some of them told me you had been here over the years. But I think we have a beautiful facility to entertain the community and give the community the idea of what we do.
Amen.
Well, thank you so much.
Praise the Lord.
Thank you for coming, and I hope you enjoyed it.
We really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, Linda. Bless your little heart.
Thank you for setting that up.
Linda.
I didn't thank Linda in the beginning. I apologize.
Thank you.
You know what?
I got her on video. I got her on video.
I can take this trash.
Yeah, we can't harass each other too much, can we, Jerry?
Well, you know, it doesn't help. That's all.
I'm right there in that blue Toyota.
Okay. Go ahead, Dan. Great view.
Children's Home Administration. Now, you guys come on up. Let me get you on the video. Right here's where I am. Turn left. I'll get you in the video with Dad.
No, I don't want to be
Oh,
in
no,
the video.
okay. Well, I'm always trying to take care of pleasing everybody here.
You want this in the front seat?
Let's put it in the back seat here.
Okay. Let me put this. That's a good spot. Here.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
God bless you all.
See ya.
I'll close it when I get inside.
See you next week.
See you next week. Take care, fellas. I don't fall down here. This beautiful view. I love it from up here. And northern Kentucky too. Tops of the buildings. Travels with Dr. John Stephenson, 859-750-0000. Join us on Facebook and YouTube. If Facebook will put me back on the air, but YouTube will, and I'll drop this off at TBNK, Telecommunications Board of Northern Kentucky. I had the very first show on there in 1982 called Home Weatherization. This will make another great show for all the Northern Kentuckians to see in the Commonwealth of Kentucky on YouTube. And www.begottenson.com. And email address, small j, small s, 750-0000. That's 75 and 5 zeros, at gmail.com. Telephone number is 859-750-0000. Dr. John Stephenson, Former Superintendent of Education, Commonwealth of Kentucky. God bless you all.
Because I love you, because I am your God.
Listening to WIOK 107.5 FM on the radio dial, Tri-State Gospel, with Gil and Jan Hammond, 107.5 FM.
I, sovereign God of this universe, you're in my hand. I will hold you up, I will lift you, I will strengthen you.
Post Office Box 50, Falmouth, Kentucky, 41040 zip code.
Almighty God.
Heading now to St. Elizabeth Hospital for pulmonary rehab. If the good Lord willing and the creek don't rise.
Take that care of yours, whatever it might be, and say, Lord, I know this doesn't belong in my life anymore. And so, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this your word, and now, from this point on, I'm going to set my focus on you, and I lay this fear down. I'm laying it down on the basis of who you are, what you said. So here's the question. Do you believe that God is who he says he is? Amen.
Forgot and left the door open back there. Oh, mercy. Such is the perils of life when you get to be 80 and your mind's falling apart on you. Gee willikers. Watch the golfers now. They're golfing around here and walkers around here, so we got to be careful.
You and I can't change it. What did he say? He said, I'm going to oppose you with my righteous right hand. He didn't say I'm going to remove this, remove that, remove the other. No, he said, I'm going to oppose you with my righteous right hand, which means when the storm blows, you've got an anchor that absolutely is not going to move, because that anchor is Almighty God. Thanks for joining us today for In Touch, the teaching ministry of Dr. Charles Stanley. If you're a believer, you may be shaken at times, but the Lord never is. God's everlasting arms are underneath you to hold you in your most desperate moments, enabling you to endure. To listen again, go to intouch.org and look for the link to Today on Radio. And that's where you can study more about relying on God to help you face even the most fearful situations. Stop.
Be heard right here on this fine radio station Monday through Friday at the same time.
WIOK, Falmouth, Cincinnati, 107.5, Tri-State Gospel.
570 Southern Kentucky Gospel, WIDS, Russell Springs, Jamestown.
And WIDS rebroadcasting on W240DB, Russell Springs, Kentucky, 95.9 FM.
Listening to WIOK 107.5 FM on the radio dial. Thank you for the beautiful display of all the wonderful works of the Children's Home, Northern Kentucky. Bless their hearts.